So I'll wait for Katie to come back and then I'll call it to order. All right, I call the meeting to order at 7:01. This is the Community Preservation Committee meeting from May 21st. Our first item on the agenda is a update with the Audubon International Project. Freddie gave us one. I'd like to introduce
Brenna,
thank you, from the Golf Committee. She's just coming at the end of her first year, and we are very happy to have her here. And I will turn it over to the two of you.
Right, so this is just going to be really quick. Brenna and I are going over the requirements for an RFP. The golf course to hire a consultant, to hire a consultant for the management plan for the Audubon International. When we have finalized that, the golf course committee is meeting next Tuesday.
I think it's now the following Tuesday, so June, I believe it's 1st or 2nd, whatever that Tuesday is.
And Melissa. Beth hasn't been with us in a long time. I keep calling her Beth for some reason. Melissa has agreed, once we have the confirmed outline of qualifications, to write it up as the RFP that will then go out. It's a Conservation Commission issue because they are co-holders of the conservation restriction on the property. So it's not out of her ballpark to do this. And then it will go out, and I'm hoping, few weeks to get responses, and that we will have somebody hired and starting to do the work in mid-June. And the goal would be to have, it's not going to be completed, but to have a substantial amount of the framework done before shovel in the ground for any irrigation project, because that was originally what we had wanted. And then the irrigation project got delayed, which wasn't related to this, but now we'll be back on target if that goes forward. I know you still have to review the application for the additional funds, but this will be a good lineup, because one of the original reasons for having the Audubon International was when they did the clubhouse moving and the realignment of the tees. It was supposed to be under the Audubon International oversight, and that didn't happen then, but at least we can do the irrigation correctly. And that is in the warrant article per their requirements, and you want to be sure that's being met before shoveling the ground. And I think during the application process.
Great, perfect. Thank you.
Do you want to say something? She's so new to this, and she'll be getting up to speed as we go through the qualifications. And
yeah, no, I think we've met to talk about it, and just making sure that the consultant we hire also has that purview of golf courses. They understand golf courses, they worked on golf courses, they have that experience, so that they're not coming in kind of from like an Audubon International perspective new to that, or without that experience and knowledge, which we think is really important here, because we want someone that understands what it takes to run, manage, maintain, operate a golf course, such that we can, still get the things done that we need to, irrigation and that, but do it in kind of the way that meets the purposes of the golf course and the Audubon International. So I think, from my perspective, just representing the, kind of committee, bringing the, information on, what's the scope of work, and making sure that we're sharing that into the committee. I'm going to be helping kind of be the liaison there, just to make sure that we're kind of keeping that component as part of this whole plan and project moving forward.
so just in case anyone watching, or I think all the committee members know this, but Audubon International is set up to be golf oriented. It's not an environmental group per se. It is a golf organization that wants to do golf courses more environmentally effective. And unlike the environment coming in, the environmental perspective saying you have to do this, you have to do that. That's why it's a combination golf course committee, open space preservation commission, so that it all melds together, which is the intent.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you. Just hold on. Thank you for the update. We look forward to more, but we're on the line if anybody wants to, any questions or wants to add anything. No, that's great.
Good news.
Yep, agreed. Thank you. All right, Kristen, do you have anything?
No, I don't. Thanks.
Okay, all right. Well, Brenna, thank you. It was nice to meet you. We look
Yeah.
forward to future updates.
Nice meeting you too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna kind of go out of order here. Is Travis? Why don't we swing him over before we do the form? We can kind of do that last, so.
He is,
So sure he's there. Great. Okay, we'll bring Travis over. Hi, Travis, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, welcome. So just to update the committee, I had put in the Dropbox the letter that we had talked about when I had sent them out. And unfortunately, I didn't get to send them till May 7th, but we did get them out in advance. I know Travis responded to me right away as always. And why don't I turn it over to you and Kristen? Travis, you can kind of update us on some of the updates and, you know, on any questions that you might be able to answer of what we had asked for. And I just want to add though, everyone is aware of we're looking for revised applications by June 30th. That was put in every letter. So, okay, Travis, the floor is yours.
Well, first of all, congratulations on being the first meeting in the new souped up select board chambers. I'm sorry I couldn't make it in person tonight. We had tried to line up childcare, but I just couldn't do it. So I apologize. Kristen, do you want to stay? Do you want me to just dive right in? Do you want to say anything before?
No, you know what, dive right in because I don't think we have to lay the foundation for everybody. You know, the challenges that we've been working through, obviously the neighbors, you know, that we've had 2 public hearings. One was last night. We've gotten some great feedback, including from Touch a Truck. So I don't think we need, unless anybody has any questions, to kind of revisit too much of the past, and I'll let Travis just dive into all the good work he's been doing.
Thank you.
Why don't we do that and then we'll go from there.
Great.
Awesome. Well, thanks for bringing us back and allow us to work through some of the updates. We've been definitely very busy. As the memo says, we've tried to focus the last few months on parking and really engaging with the public to figure out what they see, hear, what they think about the project, what we can do to make everybody feel the project's a really good project moving forward. So just again, these aren't in any particular order. And Kristen, feel free to jump in wherever you would like. We took an opportunity to engage with residents, which would have been during peak time at what we would have considered peak time at the park, which would have been like birthday parties that we permit, tend to be very, very busy. We do programming there on Saturday mornings, but birthdays definitely tend to be a busier time at the park that we know about. So we actually took the opportunity to engage with 40 permit holders over the last year, ask them, how was the parking at the park? How did you like the experience? Did you run into any hiccups? Got some really good feedback from some of those permit holders. One of them had recommended a blinking light at the crosswalk. A couple other things. Parking was definitely a area they brought up as well. Kristen talked about it, the community engagement sessions that we've had. We did do one in April, was not super well attended, but I'm very happy to report the one last night that we did. We had about 12 residents, which was awesome. Again, mostly made up of neighbors, which is a great opportunity to get feedback from them. Very engaging. Parking was a big concern for them, and it's rightfully so. Again, we had some permit holders that actually brought up some of the things that we had never thought about as well. They some of that hill on the playground was used, a very smart, popular sledding hill, so we want to make sure we're sensitive to that. But parking on Winter Street and Central Street was definitely an emphasis for that. So we want to make sure we took a lot of feedback, and it was great. We did take an opportunity, Touch a Truck, which is the first Sunday in May. We had about 200 to 300 families there. We strategically placed our table right next to the fire truck. So we got a lot of good feedback from a lot of young families, some neighbors, mostly residents. We actually bought the 2 renderings, which I sent as part of the April presentation in there as well. Got a lot of good feedback on the renderings. A lot of folks like the splash pad that is kind of on the other side of the playground to create a little bit more of a buffer. They were big fans of the green space in the middle, added green space in the middle. Parking was brought up again. And again, taking a lot of good feedback. We have been working with Activitas, which is the landscape architect that we have contracted out. The only 3 things that we've contracted that I'm out currently for was running 2 community engagement sessions, which we've done. the 2D renderings that you see and the presentation. And then lastly, we are working with them on a parking study currently, which we should have the results on in the next for the next week or so. So we should be able to give you a parking study with alternatives and additions and costs by the next week or so, which is good. And that way we can include that in our application for June 30th, whatever those parking solutions are going to be. We should be able to give you costs and what we feel. What we've kind of learned going through this project is that there's no real guidelines for parks for what is required parking and what is not. So we're trying to be sensitive to that and looking at other communities as much as we can, but there's no real guidelines for what we should or should not have for parking. So we're kind of, we want to make sure we're adding as much as we can. We've shrunk the splash pad down from, like we said, initially from 8,000 square feet to 2,000 to lower the 8 users during one point to maybe lower the use for the park. I went over like 3 or 4 things. Does anybody have any questions? I'm kind of just going through it all.
I think if you just want to finish, keep going, Travis, if you have more, and then we'll just kind of go down the line. I think that makes the most sense.
Awesome. Yep. Sorry. Community survey. We have a community survey up with Activitas. We've gotten probably 10 to 15 results for that. Again, great. As I said a moment ago, we've been actually updating the park design, which has been really neat. It's kind of evolved over the course of the year. Initially with the splash pad in the middle, that was a larger square footage. And then based off of feedback, we've shrunk that down. And then we've actually shrunk the, not shrunk it down, but relocated it and added green space based off feedback, which has been great. We have run into a little bit of feedback from residents. I think there seems to be a misconception with a lot of folks that that parking lot for the Historical and Art Society is closed. So we've been trying to debunk that a little bit. But that's been a little bit of some of the feedback we've received is folks don't feel like that lot is open for use. Not everybody, but some. So we've been trying to correct that with the communication with residents that we've engaged with over the past year with that. Just a couple notes that I failed to put in, and I'm sorry about that. The Land Water Conservation Fund, we should have that. We finally, they keep kicking the can down a little bit. It is a federal grant, so we have to be sensitive to that. I should have that hopefully in the next week or two. So my goal for the June 30th deadline is to be able to give you an answer on the grant and then parking alternatives and costs, as well as what the project cost is going to be. So that way, going into the deadline for the application, we should really have a firm grasp on what we want to do for parking, what this is going to cost, what we are hopefully going to receive from the grant by that June 30th deadline. I'm happy to report that. And one thing that, and Kristen talked about a little bit last night, and what I've was been really cool too, is I've learned a little bit about the park and the history as well. So we want to incorporate the history of Harold Fay, the gentleman that was the first resident who lost his life in World War II for Southborough. So we want to make sure we incorporate some of the history for the park in the project as well. So I actually learned a little bit about him and his history. So that was a pretty cool exercise as well. But it's really, we had a ton of engagement with residents. We know, we've heard parking. We've worked really hard to figure out what alternatives are. And that way we should have an answer in that in the next few weeks. And I'm hoping that that deadline for the CPC, we should be able to give you a pretty firm parking count. This is what we're going to put forward and costs associated with that. That is a long-winded answer for everything we've been up to over the last 2 months.
I mean, I think that covers it. What I've captured is probably 4 discussion items for us to bring to you tonight. But do you want me to go into those, or do you want to pause and just do any? Maybe I should do that, because I have a feeling that you're going to have some of the questions of what we want to discuss in a little bit more detail with you. So could I go through those items? And
Everybody good with that, or, okay, go ahead, Kristen.
okay, so not so, well, perhaps a discussion first on the parking. Last night's, what's difficult always with public engagement, right, is people come when they can come. They come at different times. They're not going to go back and look at past meetings. So what you can definitely pick up on is a lack of trust that we're taking the parking seriously. And I don't blame any of the neighbors. They're just feeling like, here we are, we have a grant, we're stuffing it down your throats. And I think those of us closer to the process know that's not our intent. That's why we pulled it, from the annual town meeting. But the fact that we produced renderings without the parking solved, there's just, you can tell there's some concerns that we're not taking it seriously. We didn't discuss it last night just because we're in the process of gathering information. But I thought that was interesting. So I just want to say we know we cannot bring this forward without an answer to that question. And, at some point in time, we'll either say, no, we can't get the parking we think we need to, or we can. People are always going to debate if it's not enough or not. With you, we hope to agree if we think it's satisfactory and then bring it forward to town meeting to decide. Along those lines, though, what was interesting, getting into a conversation with a couple of the people on, including Patty Fiore, and she touched base with me today, is your role in this process. So last night I made the point that, hey, we have a checks and balance, right? We're not going to be able to just put this on the warrant and shove this down the town's throat without paying attention to your parking concerns, and that you're really, a checks and balances for that. And Patty was just kind of like, well, I don't think so. CPC really, they're just saying if legally you can do it. And I, obviously I didn't want to go into policy tonight, and I don't think Patty could call in today, but I said, no, it's more than that. Meaning if the CPC, come before town meeting, you say, we can't support this, right? Like, you got the parking's not solved. This isn't good. I highly doubt the Recreation Commission, even if it was legally appropriate, would ever push it forward. We see this as a partnership with CPC very much. I think the public will be looking for some clarification on that role, but the way I see it is that, yes, maybe technically we could bring forward a legally feasible case for CPC funds, but if there's other factors that make it a project that really probably isn't in the best interest of the community, especially with that price tag, we're not going to say, well, we don't care what CPC has to say. That's how I kind of position it. That's how I view it, I guess I should say. Again, we didn't get into it last night in respect of the architect's time. But I think it's important if what I'm putting out there and what we're all putting out there is accurate from your points of view. Do you see that collaboration between our committees?
So are you pausing for
Right.
to answer the question? So one thing I'll say, Kristen, is if CPC doesn't support moving this forward, parking or no parking, recreation can bring it forward as their own warrant article without
Right.
CPC funds. So I think in listening to you, I think in case anybody else is watching this, I think it was a little bit of confusion. So just to be clear that if CPC doesn't support this, it won't come forward as a CPC article using CPC funds. So just to make that clear. And
Recreation has no intent
okay.
to bring it forward in any other capacity.
Yeah, okay, we'll go down the line, see if anybody has any thoughts or comments or questions on what Kristen just brought up.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds good. I do feel like it's a partnership and it's great that you're here as the representative, which shows, I feel like that really demonstrates the partnership. So, yeah, I'm in full support. I think it's great.
Yeah, thanks for the update, Kristen. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but yeah, I kind of agree with your tendency there to say that, and I think we've kind of had this conversation previously, like CPC does have, it's not just, does it check all the, is it eligible? We do, we are making a determination as a policy whether or not to bring it to town meeting or not, which is partly based on whether or not we support it. I'll reserve other comments in terms of the design and stuff like that, but I think, yeah, it is a partnership between CPC and Rec, and glad to see that.
Okay.
Yeah, not much else to add. I would just agree with that we spend the time not only to make sure that the projects meet all those requirements, like you said, check the boxes, but I think we all, both as individuals and as a committee, make the determination of if it's a project that should go before a town meeting. So I think, yeah, in agreement that it's only going to go forward if everyone is in support of that.
Yeah, and I will lastly add, Kristen, that we all know how big of an issue the parking is. And I'm glad to see that you guys are working towards this and moving forward for this. And I look forward to seeing the parking study. And, I think our next meeting will bring a lot of new information. But I as well view this as a partnership between rec and CPC, and it's always been a very positive relationship. So hopefully we can get the application where it needs to be, the parking issue resolved, and, we can move forward.
I appreciate all that feedback. Again, it's really just to reinforce
Wanna add
to
anything?
neighbors that we are taking this seriously.
Kristen, hold on one second. You have to sit up if you want to.
I'm trying to ask if there's a way to turn the volume down.
That's,
Am I yelling?
no,
No, it's the room.
It's just really loud in the
It's
room.
really,
Yeah.
really too loud for me to sit here.
Okay, I don't believe there's any way.
I was told we're not gonna mess with the volume at this juncture.
I'll-
So I'm sorry.
I'll talk a little.
I have an ear issue and I
It's
can't.
not you, Kristen.
It's like echoing.
Yeah, it's just really loud in here. Even we are loud when we talk, even if we sit away from the mic. So again, we're the guinea pigs tonight, so that'll be some of the take back we can give is, how to turn the mics down. Well, there's nothing we can do tonight for this.
Technology. So that addresses two of the items. The next item that we've discussed in the past, and that Lisa, it may not be an appropriate discussion here. It might be one that we have with the planning board, but we've been talking about composing a letter about our concerns around the parking, the use of available spots, for example, on Central Street, potential signage improvements that we could make. And so we had discussed combining that into a letter for the select board, but the commission raised a question, and I understand why they did, as to why should we not go to the planning board first? Isn't parking and streets and signage more in their purview? And then if the planning board decides that we should go to the select board too, we should do so. I think the perception, because we had discussed this, I think Travis and I in CPC meetings, but maybe not as in depth with the commission, but they felt like, are we skip leveling, going right to the select board? Shouldn't we go and sit down with the planning board with our letter first? And we have a letter drafted, ready to go, explaining some of our, concerns. But again, the commission felt that the planning board was the first place that we should send that to. So again, I don't know if that's a discussion for this group. Obviously we have crossover with the planning board as well. So I'll leave that question there and see if anybody has anything to say.
So I will say that through the planning board process and the site plan process, the deeded sites, parking spots, sorry. I'm just trying to think as I say this. The deeded spots were part of the site plan. It was one of the conditions. But as far as any enforcement, I would suggest, again, I'm one member of planning. You certainly can come to planning. We're meeting on 6/1. But it's more of a select board issue. Any of the parking down there is the parking along the street.
Right.
If you wanted the select board to designate those parallel to the Fayville Park, the Harold Fayville Park, the select board are the ones that would designate that. So that piece is with the select board. And as far as enforcing the deed restriction that was put on the 8 spots and then the additional 4, that also falls under the select board and town council to deal with. So I don't know what more planning board can do. We have no enforcement authority, but just know that those spots were part of the site plan condition for Fayville Hall. But so I would strongly suggest you just go straight to the select board, because they're the ones that have the authority on designating the spots on the street and doing any enforcement if they so choose, within the Fayville Hall.
Sure. And I'm glad you mentioned, we found amongst ourselves, we had to be very specific when we were talking about certain parking, meaning we're trying to be very intentional when we say, to your point, we're talking about the parking lot is one, matter in terms of what was outlined in the deed. And we know that that's very much being addressed right now, but not talked about as much are the street parking,
Right.
again, along parallel, which I know, but we found amongst ourselves, we need to make sure we were specific when we were talking about the two. They're really two different discussions. So that's very helpful feedback, and Travis and I will bring that back to commission, and we plan on getting a letter out and asking to then get on a future agenda, because we think that's an important piece. While it's not ours alone, because there's been a lot of discussion about ownership, right? But while it's not ours alone, it's a risk to the project. So we need to help kind of shepherd it through the process, is the way I think we see it. So we just want to make sure we're engaging with the right groups. And again, alongside that is a proposal where we, again, working with Activitas, we think we may be able to increase the number of spots available on the street. So again, in the interest of time, just want to make sure we're dealing with the right groups.
Yeah, and you can send the letter to planning board, or you can ask to be on the agenda 6-1, but don't let planning board stop your process with discussions you may have with the select board, because they do hold the authority on all of this.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Does anyone else want to add before we go on? I know.
I'll just note, as a non-expert on this, wouldn't the building inspector or commissioner also have enforcement authority over the parking spots, or would that not?
Yeah, yes and no.
Okay.
And that's what we're finding. I'll just leave it at yes and no.
Okay, let's leave it at that.
Again, we got to look at them as two separate discussions. The parking lot and the deed are one, and obviously we know that's very much being looked at right now.
Yeah.
Less of a discussion is the parking on the other side of the street, and one I think we just want to move forward.
Yeah.
Um,
Katie, anything? Nope. Okay, continue on.
So just two more things, I promise. The blinking light that Travis already mentioned, they've been putting them up a lot of places in town. So we're kind of like, well, regardless of this project, we should get that, right? Like that just makes sense. So we'll pursue separately to see if we can get that light up and running, you know, how we get into the priority queue for that, that project, because it seems like it's going on elsewhere in town.
Okay.
The last item that I just wanted to highlight, and this is more just FYI, you know, one of the items we had explored talking to the Southborough Athletic Association. You know, I'll let Travis go into more on that if he wants to. Activitas didn't love that idea because there wasn't a sidewalk from that connecting them to, you know, our crosswalk. But I wonder if that's something we could overcome. Travis, do you want to just note anything about our conversations with them to the state?
No, we've continued to engage, and they definitely seem receptive to it. We met with Activitas, I think, at our last rec commission meeting. It was 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they kind of advised against it, like Kristen said, because of no formal sidewalk. But maybe it's something we could overcome. I'm definitely, like Kristen said, willing to explore all options for this that will increase parking.
But that's all before questions. I just want to, again, I can't emphasize enough, but that we know that our application needs these questions all addressed, and we are working as urgently as we can to do so.
All righty, let's go down the line. Katie, do you have any questions or comments or anything to date based on the information we were asking for, or just anything new from what you've heard tonight?
No, I think I love the progress. I know you guys are working hard and engaging with residents and the stakeholders and the neighbors. So let's keep it rolling.
Thank you.
All right, Grant.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Kristen, for this update. It's really helpful. I just have a couple things. So I'm looking at the April, or the slide deck, I guess, the engagement slide deck with the different options in it. And so I see 2 different options, one with the splash pad in the center, which I think looks similar to the one that had been kind of originally, or the modified version of the one that had been originally submitted.
Mm-hmm.
And then a second option with the splash pad over on the side. And so just curious, one, in terms of the feedback, well, to the extent that you got feedback from at your different forums, any resident preference for one option or another? And then the second part is it sounded like you had a preference for one of them. I just wanted to see which you guys are kind of operating under the premise of perhaps going forward with. Thanks.
You want to answer?
No, go ahead, Travis. You've been receiving the feedback directly, so I don't want to steal your thunder.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the Touch a Truck was a really good opportunity for this. I think we had 25 or 30 families that approached us. We had both renderings that you see up there, the one with the splash pad in the middle and the one with the splash pad on the other side of the playground. The one on the other side of the playground seemed to be the one the parents liked the most, or not the parents, the people at the Touch a Truck seemed to like the most. And the feedback's been, we like that one the most. There's been, people seem to like, and this is feedback from residents, is that they want more green space. So that second option increases the green space in the middle. and you add green space, which is awesome and great. And it actually, the splash pad on both of those renderings are the same size. And oddly enough, it was a funny story. I was talking to one dad at Touch a Truck, and he was talking about how if you have a conversation with an adult, you turn your back for 5 seconds, and your kids, if you're on the playground, your kid is on the t-ball field. It only takes 5 seconds. So we had a conversation at Touch a Truck, and it must have been only 2 or 3 seconds, and his son already on the fire truck and running. So one of the things we talked about is fencing in that area to kind of create another barrier between the dog park and the kid area, but it also keeps all the kind of playground and toddler area fenced in. Some of the residents seem to like that quite a bit. We would also have to add a transition area between one and the other, between splash pad to playground, because one's wood chips, one's either poured rubber or concrete. So I think the initial feedback that we've gotten so far has been pretty leaning towards that second rendering with the splash pad on the other side of the playground.
I want to throw one thing in because I love being on these various committees, the random wealth of knowledge we all collect. You know, I became a turf expert a few years ago. Ask me about Turfville. I can help you. What we're learning last night was the differentiation, and keep me honest here, Travis, between a spray pad, a splash pad, and a splash park.
Yep.
And they are 3 different things. And the reason this actually came up was because a resident was concerned that there's a sledding hill there. And if it's a splash pad, we might have various, you know, I don't know what you call them.
Elements kind of up like a giant.
Thank you. And would that get in the way of the sledding? And if you guys know us, we're very sensitive to sledding hills in South Fresno. So we said, well, no, those could come out, and, you know, whether or not we're considering a spray pad or a splash pad, but that's the level of detail we're getting into, which I think is great. Did I get those right? Did I learn correctly, Travis?
Yeah, no, I think the residents, if you go to that playground right as it stands right now, it's just open, which is great. But if you just, like I said, if you turn your back for 5 seconds, I've seen it talking to parents as I've engaged with people there, and I've seen it, and I've experienced with my kids. If you go to an open playground and you go now and you turn your back for 5 seconds, like, kids are on the t-ball field, they're 3/4 of the way on the other side of the park.
And Travis, we're considering, out of those 3 options, we would consider ours a splash pad, because we will have elements in it, but we'll take them out or in the winter.
Yeah, we haven't. I mean, it's far down. It's either splash pad or splash park. I think the sledding definitely adds an element that I don't want to take it away. So maybe it's more of a kind of a flat surface that you can use all year long where the water shoots up. I think that's more of a splash pad.
Spray pad, whatever. So
yeah,
these are things we're learning. But I share it just because the more we learn, the more granular we can get with the detail, and really hopefully meet the neighbors where they need to be met.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Appreciate that level of detail. Just as a follow-up question, and this might be nothing, but in terms of so it looks like the plan is kind of like an underlying photo of the actual street, right? And I see a tree there by the splash pad in that second option. Would that be removed? I just can't tell from the drawing. Is there a tree there, and would that be removed as part of if it's put in that location?
I don't believe, I was just up there the other day. I don't believe there's a tree up, but I will do my very best. Obviously I don't want to take down any trees. So I would do our very best to keep it up, but I'm pretty sure that area where the splash pad would be going is open.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's right on the edge, and I can't tell if it's,
But that's a good point of clarification, Travis. If we can ask Activitas, because what we are adding is more shade. So maybe they can note what's existing versus what's new, right?
Yeah,
not even just for the trees, but for the structures. Like, we have our existing gazebo. What are the new gazebos? Like, because people who aren't as familiar with the park, to Grant's point, like, is that a new tree we're adding, or is that a tree that's already there? I think that's a really good point.
There was the initial survey we did in November that got 350 responses, was added shade for the park, benches, and green space. So I want to make sure if there is something that is a natural shade structure, I don't want to remove that. So those were some of the things that, in addition to what we're asking, people highlighted that they'd like to keep or see more of at the park.
Great. Awesome. Thanks. And yeah, I'll just note that I am also, if that kind of second option, I guess, ends up going forward, I think the extra green space is great. And then I'll just note, just kind of perpetually, that my biggest, I think, sticking point for this is just the costs. And so I know that you don't have the update on that yet, but just when we get to that point, that's probably kind of the main remaining item that I'll be interested in. So thanks again for all the updates.
Great. Yeah, thank you both for all of the information, for coming in tonight. I think just in addition to what's been mentioned, one question I had, Travis, you shared that you anticipate having an update on the grant sometime within the next week. Could you remind me what amount that grant might be in? Or you're on mute, sorry.
I muted myself. I do that way too much. It would be up to 50%. So if it's a $1.2 million project, it would be up to $600,000 the project. And I will have an answer on that by the CPC deadline. I have pushed them on it, the Department of DCR. So I should have an answer by that. And then my hope is that we can lay it all out with the revolving fund for the recreation departments covering for the design, how much the project's going to cost, how much will be reimbursable by the grant.
Great, thank you. And then, so to the question about kind of the two different designs, do you anticipate having one more or less settled on by the time you put the application in? And then obviously there'll be the more intensive design and engagement process after that, but will kind of it be down to one of these two options by the 30th?
Yeah, I mean, the commission's got to make that decision, but I would imagine we'd have a pretty firm idea of where we're gonna, and then the CPC application would be that one. This is the option we're going with for June 30th, and then that's the one we move forward with.
We haven't taken a vote, but we're all
Yeah.
the same on design too. It's more adding in the additional detail and reacting to what folks, the feedback that they gave us. But I think one's off the table. We haven't taken an official vote, but our conversations certainly indicate that.
Thank you. And then I think my last question was just with that option 2 and having the splash pad spray, what did we decide? Splash pad, kind of closer to the playgrounds, but still being able to sled on that area. Just wondering about this separation between those two, because I'm just picturing small children throwing large chunks of wood chips from the playground into the splash pad constantly. Maybe that's just my children, but just kind of how those would be separated and maintained.
Yeah, so the splash pad would be essentially a concrete pad, and there are alternatives. One resident brought up if you were to put up a splash pad next to a playground, my child would never want to leave. Every time I would go to the playground, I'd have to go to the splash pad. So one of the things is maybe creating some panel elements that would be more of a buffer between splash pad and playground. They do sell like normal 3-foot tall fence items that you like, panel elements that you can put up that are not only nice as barriers, but they're also kind of interactive for any more adaptive for kids. So there are things that we can explore to create a little bit of a buffer between the two, but it's a really good point. Maybe a transition area would be nice too, where not all the wood chips would pour into the splash pad directly as well. It'll be a little bit of a buffer where kids can take off their shoes, do what you need to do from one feature to the other.
That was it for me. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Travis and Kristen. Just, when is the next forum, Kristen? You said there's one more?
No, we're done with the public forums.
Done with the
Now
forums, okay.
that being said, we are always open to public comment, but in terms of formal forums, we've held 2. And like I said, last night we appreciated those who showed up last night. It's playing back. Like now we take that back, and to Ellen's point, getting to that final design that we're going forward and with in the application, obviously we'll play that back to the community in terms of output from the forums.
Yeah, and on our socials too is that that presentation that you have in front of you. It's got a QR code that has the survey that is still active. And I actually was going to put the presentation from last night on our website, which I failed to do. I ran out of time today, but I will have it on our website tomorrow. So if you miss it or you want to review it, you are more than welcome to go on our website, the Southport Recreation website, look at the the presentation, and then the survey is a link at the end of the presentation where you actually complete a survey as well. So we are still taking feedback as we work through this, as Kristen said.
Okay. One thing I would suggest is, as you move forward, and if, you know, this application moves forward as well, to utilize Southborough Access Media, go in to the studio and actually do a nice little sit down, talk about what you want to do, and then that's something that can be shared over social media. Sam could play it on their channel, it'll go on the YouTube channel. I think it's just a great opportunity, just to provide more information in a more kind of informal setting. The studio's really set up very cool. And, you know, Ben and I did a CPC PSA prior. So again, I just think, you know, as you go forward, think about that as an additional resource, you know, that you could use, you know, and Terry's great with doing that. So I'm just looking here. So the budget piece, we've kind of talked about the conceptual plan. We've kind of talked about parking. Obviously, that's still ongoing. And I think that's all that I had at this point. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Another, like, PSA, I don't know. One thing we've been talking about throughout this process, and it's more so for anybody that might be listening, is that we obviously want the feedback, especially on the parking issues, but as parking in general, even as it exists today, kind of goes beyond our scope, we think it's really important for people who are observing, you know, bad actors or parking issues or whatever, to make sure that they're contacting the police or the planning board, the people who can address it right now, because of course we need to address this as part of our plan, but the ongoing issues are kind of outside our scope. But it's very important that the appropriate parties are aware of those ongoing issues. So we're just kind of putting that into our communications. So I wanted to mention that here, that like we want to hear it, but there's only so much we can do with that feedback. So I think it's very important that that feedback goes to the planning board, the select, it sounds like the select board, and or the police, you know, whomever the appropriate governing body is, that because we can't really take that and funnel all of that feedback back to them. So, you know, we're kind of combating a few different issues here in terms of concerns about parking, but it's really important that the proper authorities today and the proper boards are informed about these ongoing issues.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Travis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. Thank you for being our first contestant on the CPC meeting in the new room. So,
Do you want me to stay for the signage stuff? I can stay for the trail stuff too.
so if you want to stay for the trails, that's fine. We have a cutoff at 9 o'clock, so I don't know how far into the signage we're going to get. So I'm going to try to get there, and I'm sure, Ellen, is there updates for the signage?
There are updates.
Okay, so
Yes.
we're going to move along, and we're going to get to those. I think as I look at the agenda, the CPC form should be quick. I've kind of put in the slides what I think we need to update, and you know, then we can be done for that. So
I think,
okay.
Travis, I can cover for us, if you're okay with that. I mean, I'm not pushing you off, but I don't also want to keep you on unnecessarily.
I'll hang back and listen to Kat, and if there's anything I can do to help for Kat,
Okay.
I'm happy
All right.
to stay on for.
Awesome. All right, so I'm just going to quickly say that for the second, we had the rural cemetery water tower restoration. I had a great conversation with Kevin Miller a couple days ago, and there's still interest in wanting to do the project, but they're still looking at other options as well. So out of respect to the work that we're doing and the work that they're doing, he thought it would be best to just put it off. They'll have more information at our next meeting, and they'll have a better path. So I thanked him for that, and, you know, again, shared that we've been very supportive of the project as it moves forward, and, you know, we're hoping it falls within the windows of you know, what CPC can do. So I just wanted to share that. And then the golf course irrigation, I haven't heard back from the golf course per se, but I've spoken to Bill Cundiff. And Bill was away this week. So again, I said, that's fine. Just come to our next meeting. He may have more information at that point. I know that there's been some flip back and forth about potentially using some money from the revolving fund to kind of offset some of this, which is one of the things we had talked about. So that's still being considered, and hopefully we'll have something more solid when he comes in to the next meeting as well. So again, I appreciated their, you know, use of our time as well. So, and that brings us to Kat. Hi, Kat, come on up.
Real quick, if you saw me texting, I was texting the IT department. There is a way to adjust the volume, but they don't want to touch it right
Oh,
now.
because it
So
might shut everything off.
just in
Go to the hospital.
Yeah, if you need to go.
Yeah.
As long as she's not talking.
Okay.
Yes.
It should be on already.
You can hear that.
It was so long ago.
Outside.
Did
Can you hear me?
I-
You can hear that outside the building.
Are these mics on?
Oh, okay.
So it's, okay, so it's picking you up through the ceiling. So you're fine. You may just not hear it yourself.
Great, so I don't have to talk.
Nope, don't have to talk into that at all. You can just talk normal, but talk a little bit enough that the mics can pick you up, because I don't know how great. So welcome, Kat. So I know we had sent you a letter as well, and any updates you want to provide? I will just say there was a lot of talk at our meeting on the 26th about, what would be needed to complete the project as we're looking at new applications. So I will give you the floor.
Great. So thank you for the letter. I think primarily what we're waiting on is some information on the signage, the CPC sign. So we have
Okay.
quotes for the cost of the PVC sign from Signarama and from Gemini Signs. And Signarama is more cost effective if it's the right material. And then we just need to know what kind of post you're looking for and to do an install on that. And that should help close out phase one. And we want to do a walk. I'm assuming someone want to do a walkthrough with us. And so we're here to just understand when you want to do that. It's springtime. It's a beautiful time to go see. The trail looks great, except for the National Grid project, which is a little bonus.
So on the sign, there's already a sign there, correct?
So we put interpretive
Like
signs.
a big sign though, not for like the project as a whole.
Right, so we put a trailhead sign.
Okay, trailhead sign, okay.
Kiosk, a map kiosk at each sign, and each sign actually has an attribution to the CPC funding and the Mass Trails funding. So while we don't have the dedicated CPC funding sign up or CPA funding
Right.
sign up, it is acknowledged, but yeah, so.
Okay, so, my suggestion would be, we've kind of come up with the sign that we want, but I think it might be a good idea to go and just kind of see the site to actually see if that's the type of sign and if we think that it fits. So, we can either do that, on our own and, try to do, Kat, what's your time frame on, needing the post? Because obviously if we go look and we say, well, maybe the PVC sign isn't the best way to go. Again, once you put it in perspective with.
Yeah, and I have video and pictures that I can send the committee if that's really helpful. That
Sure.
can be helpful for you to see.
Absolutely.
What it looks like now. So some of you can visit if you want to, but I
Perfect.
think the video and the pictures will give you perspective enough to say, yeah, I want it over here or.
Okay.
Is it at the Central Street entrance? Is that where? Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay,
So I can send that over the weekend if that's helpful.
okay. And, yeah, I think that would be great. And again, we might want to do, I think we've agreed on the language on the sign, but we may want to just, again, do something different. I don't know. Once you're kind of there and kind of see. I've kind of walked a few trails from different towns and I see different signs that are like very, respectful to, not that ours aren't, but you know what I mean, more stable of a sign, lasting longer term for, the amount of money that the taxpayers have put in. So again, just a thought there. Were you gonna say something?
No, sorry, I was just still touching.
Oh, sorry. Okay,
But I will at the end.
okay. So why don't I think once we, again, at our next meeting, I think we can agree on a sign, a post and be done.
So next meeting being sometime in June.
Yep.
Okay, so because part of the ask is how much money is left.
Yeah.
And so we won't know that exactly until we get the sign paid for, the post paid for. So we're in a bit of a,
Okay.
Is there a reason to
We're reaching
wait to
a-
next meeting to do so?
What do you mean to make a decision?
On the sign, like, what is it, the sign language and the sign?
Well, I think the sign language, I think we were fine with.
So it's a PVC sign, that's what we're going, right?
Right, so,
And so it's just a post that we need to determine?
yeah.
Yeah.
Suggestion, go ahead, please.
It seems reasonable that we might be able to figure it out tonight. I'll put our brains together. I think
Okay,
I've seen wooden, like 3 inch by 3 or 2 inch by 2 inch, 3 inch.
Oh,
by
like
3 inch
the pressure
posts.
treated now. I think Freddie, you'd mentioned wanting it to look nice.
That could look
and-
nice.
and-
I've also seen plastic. I don't know if how that looks.
that's my concern with the
Yeah.
weather and, you know, are we gonna be looking at a year from now or 2 years from now replacing a sign? It might be worth it to get something that might be a little more durable.
I'll just
So-
note that the historical commission, while in the sign business, is not as much in the post business. We did do the bronze plaques, but which had a metal post, which looks
Yep.
good with the bronze, but I don't think that would really look good with these. Yeah.
So so I was looking at some of the signs that FWA has along the property, and so they have these types, you can do a black, I forget what it's called, like aluminum coated black post that looks a bit like that. Right,
Okay,
right, it has holes, so it's easy to install. It's not solid black, not round, but it's more of a, you know, you've seen the sign post, but the black one I think looks really nice with the white, and it would, I think, fit your criteria of looking a bit nicer than a street post or street sign.
Man,
oh,
so I was just, I've seen a lot around the state and and I don't know that this is in what you're thinking, but these signs that are there are like framed and on solid post, and is this gonna look like the orphan sister just stuck in next to it? Or, you know, I was thinking that the signs you would be having for CPA funding, acknowledging the town's big commitment, would be more substantial in the framing of them. So this looks like a real framed sign, as well as, and I saw the acknowledgement on the sign that was there which was very nice. However, when you look at it, what the CPC may wish to consider doing is getting a logo, because you have all the other groups that funded it, their logo, and that's sort of what hits you when you look at it, because people don't go up and read the little tiny small print usually, but you're seeing the other organizations that help fund, which is appropriate, but, and I'm not saying that for this project, but the CPC may wish to do that, so that in situations like that, you have a logo identification of it, but
it's interesting for the future.
I would just take a look at the sign that's there and then try to think, like, depending on where you're placing it, if it's gonna be next to it, wouldn't you want it to complement? And this is on a, you know, is it 2 or 4 legs?
Pardon,
The sign that's there, 2 or 4?
at the front entrance, it's two posts.
2 posts. So wouldn't you want to try to match that? And I did want to say a comment to your, about the funding. And this is my perspective, so maybe it's the committee sees it differently. But I believe I've heard throughout that the committee is interested in knowing how much the phase 2 project's going to cost, independent of what is left in phase 1. The project is the project, so however much, yeah, that goes back into CPA accounts, but that is I mean, it will add into what the balance in the accounts is, but that is independent to getting phase 2 completed.
Yeah, I'm currently only talking about phase 1. Cause that.
You said you needed to get the phase 1 in.
The phase,
I thought
she
you said
needs the signage done, so
So
we
you
can
get
close out phase one.
phase 1 so you'll know what phase 2 is. I thought you said that.
Not yet. So we know what phase 1 is, and then the next ask is, can that money be rolled over?
It can't be, we already went through that. It's
Gotta be closed and then.
Closed
I
out.
understand it needs to be closed, but do we lose the money that was?
Yes.
Comes back to CPC, and then when you do a new,
It's all new.
it's all new.
So
That was what-
it's not necessarily guaranteed that we'll get that.
No.
47, okay.
The money goes back to the account when the project is closed out, into
And then
the CPA accounts. We went through this we had spent a lot of time with town council, a meeting going over it. So the money has to be closed out. I mean, conceptually, when you're talking about it at town meeting, you can describe it. The committee can choose how you describe it, but money's closed out. And then you're at a new start ask for anything else.
Okay.
So that brings us a
accounting.
whole separate discussion on phase two.
Right.
On a new application, and I know Grant, I think it was you that brought up at our last meeting, let's figure out what the cost is to actually do it all. And, versus taking what's there and maybe doing a piece of it. And again, please jump in if I'm misinterpreting,
Yeah, if that's of interest, right? Like, it sounds like, Kat, you want to, in an ideal world, you would want to do, what is it, both the boardwalk and the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Both elements, and you're kind of in like an either or situation, so. Sorry, I don't know what that noise was.
Is that downstairs?
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Music playing.
Distracting. But if you're going to modify the scope of it anyway and say, oh, we're going to forget about the boardwalk and only do the bridge, then obviously that would be a new ask just for that
Right, and
amount.
so we haven't met.
But it does give you an opportunity to say, oh, well, it went way over budget and all this kind of thing, and it's actually going to be X amount of dollars. Let's just ask for that at the new town meeting.
Right, and so what I was working with the constraints, because we haven't met since January, we weren't trying to ask for more money than we already had in these two piles. That's
Yeah.
the concept I was working with. We weren't necessarily interested in coming back and asking for the full need of the
Okay.
bridge. We were just working within the
Mhm.
budget because we weren't trying to ask for more.
So you envision
Something
a
different.
warrant article for the balance of what's left in phase one, just doing an additional article for the fall?
Well, the fall was, I understand we needed to close the project out, but the way we were thinking about the budget, we weren't going for like, we need $355,000. We're
Right.
gonna ask CPC for that. We were like, okay, what was our first bucket, second bucket, add those two together, that's our ask. We weren't asking for more than that because we were gonna use that money to leverage against a Mass Trails grant, for example. So,
Okay.
because, it wasn't our expectation that CPC would pay for a higher cost project. We weren't looking to ask that of CPC.
So you have the situation where, that we have to address the fact that if you're putting the two pots together, that it's going to be a lesser project than what was originally funded.
Yes, I understand that.
So just you hear committee members saying, why not just see how much it would cost for the whole thing and make that ask?
Instead of just asking for the balance of,
Yeah, well, we didn't know
Phase
that was
one.
an option. As of January, we're trying to be respectful.
No,
We're not, we understand the town's money is very, tied up into lots of different things and whether we're gonna come to the town, I don't think it makes sense to ask CPC for the full amount.
do you know what the full amount over and above would be? But and again, same on phase one and phase two, I hate doing that, but just saying if the two monies were combined, what over and above would you, again, ballpark?
Yeah,
not-
so the way we're gonna do this, because we cannot get a quote for the cost of the bridge, because everybody who would give us a quote bid on the project. So there's nobody to ask. So what we're going to do is take the quotes that we received in the bid and we take 65% of that. We increase it to add 20%, add 30%, add 50%. And that will be the cost that we're going to go after because that's the only way we can get a number at this point. So we have two very good numbers provided by a bid that we went to and got received in December. And we asked for a cost breakdown. We could not get that. We got a 65-35 split, 65 bridge, 35 boardwalk. Thank you very much. That's what we're going to be using for our numbers. And then we're going to increase that because life is really hard right now for the world. We already know that the cost of everything is doubling and tripling. And so we'll add a percentage on top of that. And that's how we're going to approach the cost.
Okay.
And so did you get a number for the boardwalk and bridge when you?
We got a quote, two bids,
And
right.
do you know what the amount was for
Yeah.
that?
448,000 one bid, 427,600 for the other bid. For
And
both
so that's-
boardwalk and bridge.
For both.
So essentially, you would combine those two numbers to get the total, or no?
No,
Oh,
those are
okay.
two different quotes,
Oh, I
two
see.
different firms.
Okay,
And the one firm that reached, when Travis reached out to get a price breakdown, they said 65-35.
So ballparking and just again,
Yeah.
making sure I'm hearing this right. So it was what, 232 was what, is that right? Around 232,000 was phase two?
211.
211, okay, 211, and then just say 40 from phase one, just as a ballpark number. So that's 251, so it's about 200,000 short to complete the
Right.
boardwalk and the bridge. So
Right.
again, just a ballpark,
Yeah,
so as we sit here and we're thinking
So
ahead.
if I take the 65% and I add 20% to that is 350, for example.
And then we would, if I may, we would add in contingency on top of that because that, you're looking at that as the base. But the question is, are you, because the committee discussed this, there's another recreation grant coming available.
Next year, 2027, yes.
So to get the grant, you have to have the funding available. It's a match.
Correct.
So this timing could fit into that. We could do a similar, the whole project, if you get the grant. Does everyone follow? This is how we did the phase.
We leverage
first
the
one.
funds.
Yeah.
of
To
this
leverage
fund
that you're
to get-
required to apply for the grant. If you get the grant, this is what the project will be. And if not, you will scale it back and approach it that way, but it would be a full ask. And or the CPC could decide, just go for the whole thing and you, if we get the match, that's that much, we're not.
Yeah.
Because you have to fund the full amount anyhow
Mhm.
for the match.
So on top of the 251, what you're saying, Freddie, is we'd be looking at another 350 or 4 to totally fund this? Or the 350
No, the
and 4
350
includes the 251?
Right.
Oh, it does.
For
Well,
both the
it-
bridge and the board.
For the, right, so that's what I'm trying to figure out is what more would you need to do the bridge and the boardwalk? Based on this 448 quote, if you have 251, then it's kind of any contingency. Correct?
So the total dollar amount to do it would be
448.
448.
Yep.
That was the highest of the two, yes.
But
So
just
add
that's a
a
good number to
20%
use.
over that and another 20% on top of that.
Why 220s?
20% because she thinks the costs have
costs will
gone
go
up
up.
since they got the bid because the economy's
Okay.
materials are going up. And then we always put in a 15% contingency.
So why would you add 20 twice? If you had
Because the
20,
first 20 is a reasonable expectation of what it's gonna cost.
what's the second 20?
The
Emergency
CPA.
contingency.
Okay, that, so you already put it building in a contingency, that's what I'm asking.
The first one isn't a contingency, it is an expectation.
Expectation. Oh, so
Because
it's,
she doesn't know she has a bid, but since the
okay,
bid
so
came
you're
in.
saying 20%, 20%, and then another 15%?
No, just the 220.
220s, okay, that's where you confused me, because you said 15, and I went, where did that
Well,
come from?
we usually ask for 15, I was
Okay,
saying.
that's fine.
448 times 1.15 times 1.2 is 618.
That's a lot of money.
Okay.
Okay, 618, and you have how much right now?
251, roughly.
I don't have any.
Well,
How much is,
So that's
how much is,
211.
how much is in the phase two? Is 211?
211.
211, and then there was 40 potential that would have to be asked for again, but. it's-
You'll have to ask for it, but you can sort of say it was already
Right, so if you do
funded.
that, 367.
So an additional 367 versus what you already have. If you get, you can look at this two ways. You can look at it that you have a warrant article that you're going to apply for the rec grant. Is there anything to prevent, like, because they already funded they already approved phase one, do they not?
Refund the same project.
The same area, is that an issue?
Oh, for the mass trails, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think so. It's an expanded part of the project.
so for the,
And then we've been very vocal about the phase two with.
so you get that funding and then but you have to build the whole thing, you have to put the full amount in so you'd have to ask for the additional 367 and say we will go for a state grant, and if we get that, that will reduce the cost by up to this amount.
Yeah.
And then if the CPC is agreeable to that, you have to look at we're going to have a whole budget discussion, but that allows you more freedom moving forward. And then what happens is at town meeting, if there is even before town meeting, you will know, you'll get feedback, right? But if it looked like it was potentially not going to work out that way, you could have a contingency and lower it on the floor.
Yeah.
Not that you ever want to do that, but I'm just saying, right? Like,
Right.
you want to get something done, but I think there's a lot of support for getting trails work done, right?
Yeah, I'll just know, I think ultimately it's just like, I'm not telling you, hey, you have to ask for us for more money, right? But I think ultimately it's a strategic decision, probably on Trails Committee's part about, either way, you have to go back to town meeting. That's hard to do. You're going to have to give a presentation, probably give a presentation and explain what happened and all that. And it's going to be, a lot of time and effort. Is the political ask that much more to do more money, or, is that actually going to add more work? Is it going to threaten the passage of it? I mean, those are kind of strategic decisions. Or the other flip side of that is, do you go back in two consecutive town meetings and everybody's sick of you because you just keep asking for more money and you didn't ask and you didn't ask enough for the first time, and now you have to go back again, and that kind of thing. So,
Well, and I will
Yeah.
add too, we had, no matter what we decide, whether we decide to do something for this fall town meeting or an ask of money for this fall or for annual, at the very least, we need to go in because of the sunset clause. The date is only through this year. So at the very least, we need to extend that date on the phase 2 on what the original article was.
and I'll note that I guess a selling point to town meeting would be that you are returning how much money from the
40,000.
40,000. So, I mean,
Well,
that's-
I don't know for sure.
yeah,
because I'm
but,
just leaving a little money in their caddis play.
so, yeah, anyway.
And I would say that because if you don't ask for more money, you still have to go back to town meeting and address that not just the 40, to address the fact that the project is less.
Yeah, you're changing.
Right.
but-
So you're going to be doing an ask for money, because even though it was returned, it's still a new ask.
Yeah.
To get that money, and then to get those funds. And then you also have to explain, and we're going to need this money to do a project that's less. So you're still going to be facing that uncomfortableness and not have a full scope project. And, why not try for the full
Right.
project that the town meeting approved previously? Just like, I believe the golf course irrigation came in higher.
Mhm.
So,
So one option too is, we're interested in moving forward with fall town meetings so that if we did need more money, we could go after the Mass Trails grant. But if we could forego the boardwalk and, as noted, we have volunteers scheduled in June to do a workaround, to do a trail around the wetland area. And then just focus, that was our backup plan, to focus on just getting the bridge. So if we were to just focus on bringing that number down to something more reasonable, something at like 660s, that makes me a little uncomfortable to have to stand up there and defend, that's a lot of money for a bridge. I want the project to go forward. The committee does. The community supported it for years, but things are hard. Money's tight. Taxes go up. So, if we wanted to kind of angle that differently strategically, focus on the bridge. And then if someone has the interest in years to come, want to add a boardwalk, then do so then.
So do you want to talk to your committee and come back to our next meeting with kind of a
Sure.
explore with them, what they may be interested in or not, or at least have them come even and we could actually have a conversation, about, whether it's just the boardwalk and.
Well, we've talked extensively.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did they know
we're
there
happy-
might be the option to,
Well, no, I haven't talked to them about this. Of course.
yeah, so.
So yeah, we would certainly be willing to do so, but
Okay.
this is the challenge. Applications are due by the 30th of June. That's like days away plus, so we don't have a ton of time to cut, which I want to ask some questions about what's required for support letters and things like that we need to pull together. We can use much of the application material we've had already. That's a question for the committee as well. But yeah, there's a lot of
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead, no, go ahead.
things I need to get done.
We're
in
probably
short
gonna say
time.
the same thing, so go
One
ahead.
question I have that would just be useful for me, and you might be able to answer this now, is that kind of workaround around the boardwalk, like what is the drawback of doing that versus the boardwalk?
Mhm.
Does the boardwalk add a lot of benefit that doing that walk, like,
Yeah.
is that resulting in a worse trail that,
It creates a little bit of a challenge. Having to go up and around. It's, it may have less users. If you
Mhm.
have a nice boardwalk that's 5 feet wide, the whole idea, this part of this trail is an accessible trail. Like you're making it more accessible to more users, sure.
okay,
But if you put a price tag of, $150,000 on it, people may make different decisions. So.
well, I think
but
understanding that
ideally-
trade-off is useful in terms of, oh,
Yeah.
is it ADA, I don't know if it's ADA or not, but
Yeah.
more
Well,
ADA
if-
users or something
If
could get on
Mass
the boardwalk.
Trails is
Yeah.
involved, it is required because it's federal
Yeah.
funded.
Yeah,
I don't think CPA funds
but
are.
regardless of just, it's
The
more
bridge is
accessible for,
mandatory. We have to have the bridge.
Yeah.
Right, to make the connection and to get off Route 30. The other is it would make it a nicer trail,
Okay.
but we're finding other ways to make that work.
okay, thanks.
Grant, can you just check, is Kristen still on? She may have just
She
turned off
is,
her,
yeah.
okay, I just wanted to make sure. She suddenly went off screen, I want to make sure we still had a quorum. So, okay, so I think for tonight's purposes, so if the committee is fine with what we had originally talked about for the sign and this, then, I think we can move forward. If we're talking about coming back for a phase two, maybe phase two could have a more substantial sign included in it, just so we can get through the piece we need to get through for
Yeah.
Kat to close this out and move forward tonight. So,
And to that point, I think it would definitely be helpful to see the photos of what's there already, but if it's acknowledged on there, I personally don't see the need for another sign at this point. And so I don't know what it looks like yet.
It's
It's
small.
small.
It
It's
is
tiny.
small.
You-
It's
you
in
can't
the
see
corner
it.
of the sign. I mean,
and CPC funded a good chunk of this project between the two. So,
So we'll see. Yeah,
on the second one, definitely.
Yeah.
right. So I feel like we are starting to put this policy in place and the idea of what we want the standard sign to look like. But for projects that have been ongoing, I don't love the idea of just taking more time to get it done when you're looking to close it out. So again, I'd like to see the picture. I can go by and see it in person. When it's just, it's something that we have in our handbook that it has to be acknowledged, but otherwise it's not a requirement to close out the project to have the sign on there. So just my opinion,
Can I-
but
I suggested this a long time ago because there's two projects, because the second project is in the woods. To have one sign at the beginning, because it's part of the same trail system. So, and to have that be a substantial sign for the huge value. And the reality is CPC did not put in a lot of funding for the first phase.
correct.
Basically, we paid for some signage installation. It was a
$2,400.
few $1,000s. So I think my recommendation for years of discussing signage, I mean, almost have a nervous breakdown when the topic comes up, but do it right and make this one be substantial because, it's a big area that it can hold it. There's, trees and everything out there so that close this one out and have the signage for the second phase be the one sign. I just keep saying this, that would do that. But for closing the project out, it's a little bit something I want to talk about if this is the time or not.
So I think we'd mentioned earlier, so to close out phase one is independent of a new phase two
Correct.
at town meeting, right? So that does not have, we want it done as soon as possible, obviously, but it doesn't have to happen by fall town meeting or anything like that in order to close out that.
Yeah.
Other than it would be nice to say we returned
I don't see why it wouldn't happen.
36,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was necessary given what we were initially thinking.
I think we want the signage, like we want to move forward, obviously, but just to know that it's
I mean,
functioning
And
separately
we would
is
love to close
useful.
it out.
I
and
would
if it's
be,
not returned, then you can't ask for
Right.
money
That's
that's
what
not
I
there.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not asking for that money.
She's asking for new money.
Not for it back, but if it's still all gonna be in the
Okay.
bucket, right? So she's not asking to hold on to that money and move it to a new project. But the CPC can't recommend giving it out to anybody if it's sitting in an account for a project that's done.
It's tied up,
Correct.
is what you're saying. right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, I don't
There's
see
other
any
funds
reason
there.
not to get it done before town meeting, but it doesn't mean if she makes the ask now, that just because it's not in the account now, that impacts it at all, unless there's not enough money in the overall account, and we'll know that in June. I want to say that for closing it out, though, we need to go through a process of what the town council said, because this is a little complicated. We need to document everything, and we have a form, and I'm going to recommend a new, more detailed form for some projects. If a project's completely done and over, and there's just a couple of, there's a little bit of money, a few $1,000s, then we just sign off on it. But for a bigger project with a lot of money, we have to document that for the DOR and the Community Preservation Coalition, where people will look at that in the future and say, what happened here?
Do you have a form?
So I was just gonna
I'm gonna-
suggest that maybe for the next meeting, Freddie can put the form together. I'm sure none of us have really seen the form. Most of us are new, so I think it would be beneficial for the committee to see the form, see the process, and
I've seen a few. I think we did Calendar Field or something was a closeout.
Commander.
Right?
Oh, that
Yeah,
that was a long time
but
ago.
that was
This
a long
here
time
is a
ago.
little bit different, though. It's dealing with the Warren article.
So maybe we'll
I'll make a recommendation. You're saying, see the form, we have an existing form, but.
right,
I'm
but you're saying it needs,
more.
you need more. You want
So I
more,
will
so
put that in.
put that together and let's just get that signed off and for our next meeting. I mean, I want to see it, so I'm sure others may want to just have a gander at it. So get the form together and then we'll get it signed off.
This isn't a sign off on this project. This is a suggestion for how to move forward as a standard thing, because,
But wouldn't it be the same sign off for this project then?
no, because
Now I'm confused.
I think the debate is whether or not she needs to put up a new sign, a permanent sign for
Any
phase
kind
one
of
before
form.
closing it down.
So, but I thought we just discussed phase two, just doing a permanent sign through phase two, not doing a sign through phase one. And then closing the monies out. And then I thought,
But I
again-
think Freddie recommended the opposite. I'm not saying we determined one way, but didn't you, Freddie, just say that you think that we should put up the sign before closing it out because you've seen signage issues in the past, or is that not what you said? Okay,
I think in this case, where they didn't use a lot of the phase one funding,
oh, I see.
you can wait to the phase two.
Okay, thanks.
And the closeout I'm talking about is a more, I'll write it up. It's going through the Warren article and saying what's been, that everything's been done or not been done. You don't just return a big chunk of money on a project without acknowledging that the project's been completed as written in the Warren article, and if not, why not?
Okay.
If there's anything, so that means going through the Warren article and the old application and double checking that everything that's there was done, even if it wasn't funded by CPA money, because why would we be returning the funds with a project that was voted on, not completed? So that you can have that, and then that would also be added into the DOR records. That is then on the website for the coalition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think it makes sense that we understand that it's a more involved process than just closing something out. I think my hope is that we can get that process rolling.
agreed.
And we could provide, if useful, as an addendum to the form, just a document of what you just said, take the application bullet points, what were we tasked with, and provide the pictures in addition, so you can just add that to an attachment to your documentation. So you
And then
it
we
all in
have
one.
to, that'd be nice. I still think the committee, I usually used to go and check things before
Oh,
we
absolutely. But
finalize them. final
this is for
payment.
the documentation pieces. I'm assuming that might be useful if you had that attachment. So we can prepare that currently. We can do something like that to move things forward. And then to your point, Freddie, phase two, is in the woods, but there is also another kiosk on the other side, and there it is open to the world, so it won't be buried, and there'll be a nice opportunity to put a sign there that people who are using the trail can see. So it won't be just in the woods. There'll be a nice place for you to think about where you can put it.
I just thought at one point that some of the trail users won't get that far because of the accessibility issues.
It's true, like it depends on where you come in. So that's why.
So the committee can look at that and decide, you don't need to decide that tonight.
Okay, can I ask a couple questions about the application? I don't want to take too much more of your time, but it would help me understand. So is the committee comfortable with me using a lot of the materials, like some of the descriptions and things like that from the previous application where it applies from phase 2 application?
In my opinion, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And support
I need to
letters.
recreate the wheel.
Yeah, thank you. Support letters, we'll get new support letters. Is there an ideal number of support letters that the committee typically wants to see? So like the main one would be Recreation Commission, because they're like our, overseer advisors, and I think Council on Aging may not be as applicable to this one because of the walkability. So, okay, so we'll make some decisions there. Do we know if there's enough money to, or if there is a cap on the money, would it be wise to know that sooner than June 30th so we don't over ask and that we right size ourselves rather than having to go back and forth?
My recommendation is no, that it's up to the committee to look at their budget and decide how they want to fund it, and you don't know what's coming in from the tower or for the golf course or for recreation. So all of those projects should come in with their ask, and then it's up to the committee to see what's in the accounts and how much of each they want to recommend to town meeting. It's not for you to make your project based on how much you think is in the account.
Oh, I'm just trying to save some time
I
for all of
know,
us.
I know.
So thank you for clarifying. The other thing is, if the applications are due in June, I did listen to some of your March 26th meeting, and so the town meeting is likely in September or maybe October.
Yeah.
There are 2 weeks in August, the middle 2 weeks, that I'm going to be gone, and I know I'm not the only one that can present here, but I just want to give us a heads up that I won't be trying to be evasive to attending a meeting. That might be the
Yeah.
better representative, but I could potentially get someone up to speed if we had to do something.
I think our goal that we talked about at the last meeting was July 31st and having everything wrapped up so that Freddie can start working on the warrant articles. That's what I recollect.
Yeah.
So, being gone the first 2 weeks, I don't know that I certainly
Yeah.
would not have my vacation, for this. So, yeah, I think that's probably gonna be fine, because we'll know what's needed. If there's anything else that's needed, certainly by the end of July.
Okay, and I'll try not to fall off the mountain, so I can.
No, please don't do that.
I will. You had some specific questions that you had included in the letter that I just wanted to help address or understand if I have to give you any additional information. So I think we talked about one of the last two bullets was, would you like more information? We would like more information on question 7 regarding any grants. And I think that
Just did.
budget. Perfect. And question 9 asks for experience of proposed project manager. Is this information available? I think question 9 was the timeline, and you make question 10 of the application from previous time regarding the project manager. And the application, I think, talks about, so in the phase 2 application asks about who's going to be the project manager for this.
Yeah.
And we talk about in the paragraph that we're hiring for that. That's part of what the scope is. So the person who puts the bid in would be the primary building project manager, and the trails committee with the, assistance of Travis and the, I'm not putting it on the recreation, but you guys had previously agreed to be an advisor. So that, we would be the project manager. So I didn't know if you had any specific questions around that would be helpful for us to answer now in advance of.
This is coming from like left field, but we've seen these projects where we have a volunteer committee who's responsible for putting together and pretty technically involved projects beyond there, even though who they're hiring has the expertise, the oversight, which is why I believe our DPW director has now stepped in for the golf course irrigation. And I know he's not for rent for every, I'm not suggesting that. I didn't mean for rent, but he's not going to be for every committee who needs that kind of expertise. But on some level, what responsibility does the town have to support its committees in supporting these type of very technical construction projects? We have a town engineer now. It seems in one of the conversations that the golf course irrigation project would have been better served if they had had DPW director on board earlier. That was a takeaway from one of his meetings that, and that's not just for you, but that is, like there's a project.
Freddie, that's a really great point. I mean, we've been discussing things similar on recreation and what is proper project management and oversight. And to your point, we're leaning on DPW for a little bit of that, but how, where does their expertise lie and how much can we really stretch them? So I don't know that we're going to solve it tonight, but I think it is a discussion point that goes beyond obviously just trails.
Should we talk? I'm very uncomfortable asking Bill to add a big project like this to his plate, because I understand that it could, scope creep and we're using DPW, but we're happy to reach out to them and explore that as an option and take a no if that's a no, if needed. Would rather get ahead of that than wait and get behind it. You know what I mean?
I'm just thinking, is this at the minimum, it's how many $100,000 project? And we have, with all respect, a group of volunteers overseeing a technical construction engineering project.
We hear you.
No, and I think the town would be better served providing some expert advice. And I don't know, just because Mr. kind of stepped in for the golf irrigation system makes me think of that, but who else is there? And is this a question for the select board? Or is it a friendly conversation with Bill if they're able to look at some of these plans? We have a town engineer.
Yeah.
And if not, then go to the select board and
Yeah.
say, how would you handle it? And if not, in the future, is this something the CPC should be looking to have built in to a project? Because it's an added cost, but in the long run, like, God forbid you're building a bridge and there's a failure and someone gets hurt, right?
Well, we have engineers. We spent 90,000 plus on engineering plans, and they have some liability. There's structural engineers all involved. I like the concept. I could certainly ask Bill if he would mind serving as an advisor. I know we can't pay him because that's like a circular reference in town funding, but we could ask him if he's open to it. If I don't want him to have to feel like he's taking on a project manager role, but more of a consultant or advisor role. Perhaps he would be interested in doing that, and I could explore that and be ready to come back in June to talk to you about that. So it's an option, because I don't know if there's another town person that would do that.
In terms of go ahead.
So I do wonder if this is we're kind of cutting into a good conversation, but a different conversation, because now I'm, in the past, recreation, for example, has the directors overseen some of this, but maybe we need to do a better job of defining what that role is and where, if there was, in the event there was a mistake, where that falls in terms of addressing that before a large project instead of after something happens. I think we've been going along like this for a long time. Don't get me wrong, but I think we're all kind of hitting on a point that maybe requires a little bit further definition. So we can determine who is that appropriate person to fill that role, how should be financed, et cetera, et cetera. Not saying we want to hold up projects and hold up trails, and I know recreation has provided that role in the past, but even hearing this, I'm a little bit like, well, maybe we do need to dig in a little bit deeper before we make these decisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you want to add something, Grant? Sorry.
Just in general, I think this is kind of a tricky question for applicants, right? Because like you guys are a volunteer body, you don't have any professional staff. Like it's different if you're a committee that has professional staff who will be the point like planning department or something. And so in general, I think it leads to some tricky questions like what if you ask Bill and he says no and you're left with nobody else, no other town employee or the town has no interest in supporting your application or something like that, then like that can lead
Yeah.
that can lead to some pretty tricky
Well, it's a decision
topics.
point.
But I think
Hopefully
we should, it's probably worth pursuing and hope that he says yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And do you have a sense of June's meeting, or will that be discussed at the end of this?
It
meeting?
will. What I'll do is I'll shoot you an email.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate that. And thank you for your time as always and your support and good advice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Videos, and let me know if anyone wants to do a site visit. It's wonderful.
Perfect.
Wonderful place to visit.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ellen, why don't we do the signs? Because if there's something that ends up having to be put off, if need be, we can do just a quick Zoom meeting for the updated CPC form. So why don't you go ahead and
So
we always seem to punt that one a little bit, so let's
Yes.
not.
This will be quick, but thank you to Grant for getting the contact information and for somebody at Sinorama as well as at Franklin Bronze. I haven't had any luck getting in touch with someone at Franklin Bronze, but Sinorama has been lovely. I went in there in person, showed them what we've been thinking about and talked through the logistics because I think that was one of the pieces we were still trying to figure out. And so what they recommended is if we settle on our standard design, they can print out or basically cut 5, 8, 10 blanks. And as needed, we tell them what the wording needs to be for the specific project.
Yep.
They can then print that and then send the invoice that can then be paid from the project as needed. We don't need to pay upfront for them to start cutting those. And so this is easiest if we have a standard size and they come like the historical ones do with just 4 holes in the corners. And then it's up to us and the project sponsors to figure out how and where that's attached. But we can work with them on they do have the ability to put it on a post as well if we know that's needed. And so he was going to bring the design to their designer, put together their actual mock-ups. He thought this was going to be for a size the same as historical, which is 12 by 16, about $100 a sign. More if you have a post, obviously more if it's bigger. But that was the general sense. And so that was, I know, I couldn't picture it. So he brought out like one of the actual signs and it feels pretty substantial. You're not going to see it from the road. And so there's obviously going to be, sorry, this is the end of my cold, cases where that's not the one that we need. And, we don't have to have them cut a bunch ahead of time. That could just make it a little more cost effective, a little more efficient when we do want something put together. But that was his recommendation.
Okay, that's a great update.
Great.
Any questions, Katie?
No, I think that's great. I like having the templates and if we can get them like printed out beforehand just to wrap them up quicker, that's awesome. And then, for any other project that might need something a little bit different, we can just take that as it comes. But yeah, thank you. That's great.
And that's for a PVC sign.
That's for the PVC sign. So, I'll reach back out to Franklin Bronze again. And I listened into the library meeting where Claire talked about the signs, and it sounds like they were going to go through Crown Trophy, who's done other signs for the library. So maybe I'll just reach out to Crown Trophy as well and see, maybe having again a place we can just go stop in and talk to them. But I would assume we could figure out something similar where this is our standard template and figure out about getting those moving forward as well.
Awesome, great.
Yeah, my only great news. I guess my only question, I think we had a discussion a while ago about this, what the correct size is. And I don't know if you had a sense of looking at it, if 12, what was it, 12 by 16 or 12 by 18?
Yeah, 12 by 16. It felt substantial
Okay.
enough to me. I feel like a lot of these, you know, you're going to be walking by the entrance to the volleyball court or, you know, walking by the park. And so you're going to see it when you're there. You're not going to be driving on the road and notice it.
Yeah.
But you'll, you know, you see the historic house signs from the road without reading all of the details,
Yeah.
I guess.
I guess how it looks with the post, like a pretty small sign might look weird with two posts. I feel like if it's a
Yeah.
3 foot wide sign,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
it looks.
And so they
So
can,
some of that detail, I guess. Well, like if
Yeah.
we're going to print a bunch, which I think would make sense.
Yeah.
We probably want to figure that out.
yeah, and we can go bigger and
Yeah, I'm not
it
necessarily
didn't-
advocating. Like,
yeah.
I honestly could not get a sense of like
yeah,
what the right size should be, but I think I had mentioned what historicals was, and somebody had mentioned that it should be bigger, maybe Freddie. But I can't remember if we agreed on that or you know, just I had a tough time figuring out like
yeah,
is 12 by 18 a good size or not?
Right, I'm trying to envision that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, you know, a size of like the political signs that they
Yeah.
have. You can see them, you know, you can read them, but I think that's a little bigger than the 12 by
Yeah, those are supposed to be 24 by I can't remember 24 by 18. No.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but is it, you know,
Those are pretty
again,
big, right?
with the
So,
posts, you know what I mean? Is it's hard to envision.
Yeah.
You know, the 12.
This is 11 and a half.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's that wide,
It's that tall.
that tall, sorry, yeah, and
Yeah.
then it's 18 wide.
Well, it's 8
Give me
inches
another
wider.
piece. 8 and 8 is 16,
And 2,
8 and a half, so it's 17. So it's like this.
2 inches bigger, right?
What?
Yeah, 2 inches bigger.
But around that, yeah.
Yeah.
14 by 20 or, you know, who knows?
Yeah, and I mean, we can also, you know, a field trip to Signorama or, you know, ask them to,
I know.
Yeah.
but, or order one. And if it feels a little too small, then
Why don't you do that?
yeah,
Could do
And then
that.
you're not stuck on any.
Yeah. Or maybe they would even lend us a
Or
blank.
find
You know what
local
I mean?
examples.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, even if they would, you know, maybe give us a 12 by 18 and then the next size up, and then we could really get a visual on it. They don't have to print anything on it, and then we'll know, and then we can go back and place the order from there. Because I'm not against ordering, like you said, the 5 or 5,
However,
whatever it is, you know what I mean? I think it's probably good to have some once we agree on, you know, what it is and the size. So then we can get the price on the posts too. Might as well just get it all done at the same time. Great. So, but thank you.
yeah.
Did you have anything, Kristen?
Yeah, just a couple quick things. Thank you, Ellen. Recreation, we've had a kind of some high priority items around field fees and the parking that we've had to work through. But in June, we'll be talking about the placement of the rec signs. Like, you know, for example, we talked about last time the volleyball court. You don't want a big sign right next to the volleyball court. So where would it be? So that will be on our June meeting. The other thing I just wanted to note, because I think about this and I know people will probably look at us and be like, oh my God, put up the sign and call it a day, be done. But we've been talking about the Harold Fay Memorial Park, and we're like, how do we not have a sign there explaining who Harold Fay is, Harold E. Fay? You know, all these years, and there's been different iterations with that park. In 1999, it was refurbished. You know, we refurbished it, you know, several years ago, and yet we don't have the proper signage. So here we are revisiting it again. So I think we all here as a committee have appreciation for getting this right the first time. And I just kind of wanted to say that out loud because, like, you do go back and regret if you don't do it right the first time.
Yeah. Agreed. Thank you, Kristen. Okay, so let's do that. Okay. All right, so Kristen, you're still leaving at 9, correct?
Yeah, a few minutes before they
Okay.
charge an insane amount for late pickups.
Okay, so Grant, can we pull up the minutes? We definitely have to get those done. I got the naughty letter from the 226. So,
Yes.
So the sound went significantly down.
Katie
Yeah,
fixed
thank
it.
you, Katie.
Yeah, I was texting with Jay and Hassan, who have been wonderful. So, yep, there's just a little lever on the screen. And because once you noted that it was the Zoom, it made all the sense in the world to them. So,
The comment, I'm not sure who put it in, but that is correct. I did not vote. Oh,
Okay.
actually, no. I take it back. That one I did. I'm getting a little mixed up, but that when was that our final vote on
That's what I couldn't,
the
yeah.
Affordable Housing Trust? Because I voted for it once to continue forward in discussion. And then our final
Yes.
vote,
It was
I was
320.
like, yeah.
I think it was the 326. Wasn't that the final vote?
I don't think we voted on the projects at 326.
Hold on. Reviewed.
Remember there was that confusion,
We
Lisa,
amended
that
it.
I had.
Right. I mean, we can certainly go back and,
I can find out when Kaylin was in the hospital. That'll make it easy for me. Give me a few minutes. Let's keep going.
okay, approval of, no, okay. Ellen, your second comment?
So, at the beginning, Claire's listed as absent, and I think she did join when she was free, and so she's listed as voting to approve the minutes. So just if she did join in the middle of the meeting, we should just make note of when that happened.
I don't think she should, if that's the case, I don't think she should be listed as absent, right? She should be listed as there,
Yeah.
and then
in the body,
having,
maybe
yeah,
just
or members
note the
present. And
I mean, it was just a meeting for votes, wasn't it? Claire wasn't there, if I remember correctly. I don't think she came in.
I don't know. I couldn't find the video for this meeting. Don't know. I thought this was it's not listed as that. I thought this was our all Zoom meeting, but maybe not.
No, because Kristen was remote. Kristen was the only one remote. Okay, we'll just.
yeah, I don't remember being in this room with Claire yet.
Yeah, because we waited to vote. I'm just trying to remember if that was it. Okay, we'll just table these. We already got the naughty note, so
Yeah.
we'll just do it at the next meeting and I'll go back. I'll double check. That's fine.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I'd rather get them done right, you know? Absolutely. Okay.
there's another set, right?
Yep, 326. Ellen, did you have any edits on this one?
Sorry, what was the date of town meeting?
This, sorry, 4/11, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you guys didn't meet, so I've already put those in, so. And we put all the other ones, we got them in, so the only two that are outstanding are these two. Leading up to tonight, so, okay, let's go down and see. Well, that's weird, I still have Kristen on my screen.
And they're like different things.
Yeah, it's different, okay, that's fine.
Where's the rest?
Let's see, just the screen process to ensure that project sponsors, okay, that's good. Spoke about, so we're gonna develop the management plan, yeah. Okay. I had no further edits, but I'm fine with the edits that Ellen did. I'm just looking through a few more. Yeah, I'm fine with those. Kristen, do you have anything else? Any
No,
other
I don't.
changes? Katie?
No.
Grant?
No.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 326?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have to do roll call vote because Kristen isn't here. Kristen?
Yes.
Lisa, yes?
Katie, yes.
Carrington, yes.
Ellen, yes.
We're doing first names or last names?
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We're all different. It's
Choose.
fine. Okay, so that's that. Just to make sure we get done, I tell you what, let's pull up the PowerPoint for, let's see if we can go through this and get this done, Grant.
Oh, hey, I don't know if I should I should admit this, but I no longer have to pick up my daughter. So
Oh, okay, well, we'll just do it then. Let's pull up the PowerPoint.
We can go until midnight.
No, we can't do that.
I know. Like, should I say something?
We're almost done anyway. I think we've done everything
Yeah.
other than set the next meeting date, so this is fine. So.
Is it revised?
It's the revised, yes, it says 2024, that's what it came in under.
Great.
So what I did is Grant brings this up. So Freddie had done it and just updated it, but then I said, well, sometimes people like to see what it was the prior year. So, and I couldn't figure out how to track change on the, so I just said, you know what, I only have limited time, so I just did what I could do. So, if you go down through to, I'm going,
Sorry, I'm trying to.
well,
I
no,
had to
no,
download it.
Can't do that.
can't do what?
Can it be on the screen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I had to download it and it was having trouble. Give me a second.
okay. Well, then I will just hold on a second. So obviously, I will just say that, so we need to do the public forum. Ellen, would you, once we set the date, would you redo the handout? That would be great, and then we'll get that out. We'll shoot that out in the backpacks to the school. I actually had a gentleman reach out to me yesterday looking to know when the forum is gonna be. And I said, welcome, go look on the website and, here's the links, and told him we'd be happy to discuss any of it with them. And yeah, so that was actually kind of cool. That's the first time that's ever happened. So, I appreciated that very much. Okay, so if we go to slide, kind of go through them. This is, nothing changed on this. It's easier for me to look on this one. And then we just took out Brent's name. He was at large. I should say Freddie did. And okay, go to the next. That's the only thing that changed on that. This stayed the same as well. Next slide.
Sorry, I'm just gonna zoom in. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And again, if somebody sees something they want changed, just call it out. This stayed the same. Nothing has changed. This is just the history. Next slide. And then this stayed the same as well. We didn't update this in any way. And next slide. I will let Freddie talk to this. As you can see, what I did is I put in parentheses what the new numbers are going to be. And the 118.42, that was from last year's presentation. So we can just update this. That's fine. But I wanted everybody to see, because I know there might have been a question on, well, what was it last year? So again, like I said, couldn't figure it out. I was having a moment. So I figured, you know what? I'll just do it this way for now. And it's easy enough to fix. So Freddie, do you want to talk to?
Well, I get the average home price from the town assessor. He gives me the tax rate. It's a simple math from there on in. Basically, if we have 100,000 exemption, we take that out. Then you multiply the average home price times the tax rate, and then you take 1% of that to come up with what the annual bill is for the average priced home. And you can sort of run your own numbers by your assessed value, or, oh, I'm twice as much, or I'm half as much, what if you wanted to figure it out yourself. But the point is to show what the cost per average home is.
So is that the current tax rate? It didn't change from last year? The 13.81?
Is that what I had in there? I thought I
Hold on,
the
hold on. I actually put it all.
my phone just died, so I can't bring it
No,
up,
that's
but
fine.
if that's not right.
Oh, sorry, it's 14.36. So that was me. I didn't change that one. I have what Freddie did. So yeah, so I will change the tax rate to 14.36.
And the math should all run
Come up, then it'll
correctly.
all-
I'll double
right,
check
it'll all be
it before you run out, but, after tonight, but,
Okay.
yeah.
I think it looks good. The only thing is, I believe the first and the fifth bullet points are the same. Is that right? Is one of them duplicative?
That's how it was. The committee had it so that it's saying that one is it tells you what it is, and at the bottom, it completes the math that you just ran through.
Oh, okay.
So you start out with, this is how much you're paying a year,
And this is how we.
and this is how we get there.
Okay.
So,
That's fine.
and it's showing that it's 1%. We have a lot of people that think it's a 1%
Yeah.
Of
tax,
the total.
which
yeah.
it's not. It's 1% of your tax bill after taking out the 100K
Yeah.
off your assessed value.
Great.
All right. Okay, next. screen. So I put in parentheses, Freddie suggested under the remainder, saying remainder of 65% used to pay bonds and fund projects, whatever isn't used into the budgeted reserve. You wanted that language put in, correct?
And if you want to, wordsmith it, but we had before the remained, the 65% went into budgeted reserve, and that's not, that's only, we have now started using the current fiscal year to pay the bond payments. We've been doing that for several years. So it's after you take out the 35% in required set-asides, then we pay the bonds. Then what's left, if you don't use it towards another project, then it goes into the budgeted reserve. It doesn't just all 65%. We used to put all 65% into the budgeted reserve and then take it out towards projects, and that was not the appropriate way to do it for accounting per Carla.
Would it be informative to say what the bond amount payments are? Like, I know we have that info in the budget.
No, because every year they change.
I meant for this year's presentation for, like, we're paying 87,000 on the townhouse into the.
If you want to do that, you can add it in, but we already paid it. It was in the warrant article. You want to go back and do that? And this year it will be different. And you've got, so.
Just for the presentation, I don't know if that's useful information if somebody doesn't know about CPA, that's all.
But we have,
I don't-
I
a
guess
strong
the value,
preference.
but I can also see how it could cause confusion. Could we put in an appendix, like just referencing this year's warrant article if someone wants to get into those finer details? I can understand why throwing numbers on this could start to cause confusion, whether we're back looking or forward looking.
That's
I
true.
also see your point of wanting to provide that information, which I think we could do via an appendix.
Appendix to the PowerPoint?
Yeah, like not to go over, but a footnote, maybe even a footnote here to say, for reference to this year's allocation, and then a footnote to the warrant article or something like that. Because we're not going to want to go in there and justify and explain those numbers necessarily, right? And then have to, explain how they're going to change. Certainly if someone asks, but that could get confusing quickly when people are coming in for an intro to CPC.
Do you want to put the whole, if you're going to put the bond in, now you're talking the whole budget, what went in each of the buckets, how much we took in, now we got the percentages.
Okay, yeah.
Why don't we just attach the warrant articles to the tail end of this?
I think,
Just- just-
sorry, I didn't mean to throw a word.
No, it's fine. I'm just thinking, is that the easiest way? I mean, again, this will be up on the website. So that will be there if somebody wants to go back and see how it was done. And just like the pictures, we just kind of skim through them, and it's, in a way, it's an appendix. At the end, we can say if you're more interested in, how the budget was done and what was approved by town meeting.
Yeah, I think that'd be useful. And do we have the
copy.
final budget or warrant articles on our website? I can't remember.
Oh,
Or at least we can link to the town.
I have,
Yeah.
yeah, we
You
can
know,
attach.
Look
it,
at
it's fine.
articles 30, whatever.
Okay.
and then-
Just right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, the clerk definitely does, so we can always
Just
just
Make
link
it.
look at
Do
that.
like a screenshot?
No,
Or if
I
you sort of-
actually have the actual pages, so I'll work.
Yeah,
on it. It's fine.
yeah.
That's fine.
I think you could also just, link to the clerk's, the actual official warrant and just say articles 20 to.
Right. Yep, that's fine.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, I'll attach those. Okay, so, can we go
Oh,
back?
I'll go back.
What? More?
What?
Yes?
Here, I just saw something on the screen, it said waiting,
Where?
the one I changed. I don't know which slide it is.
Hold on. Hold on. It wasn't on this slide because I printed what you sent me.
The next one?
No, we did, it's forward. It's forward. We're not there yet, Freddie.
Oh, well, it just showed up on my
Well,
screen.
Grant went forward and then he came back.
Sorry.
No, totally fine. Okay, so is everybody good with,
How much does it cost me?
No, you didn't say if you were good with the language.
I know, that's what we're going to the next screen, the annual budgeting requirements in the buckets. The language that Freddie suggested, remainder of 65% used to pay bonds and project funds, whatever isn't used in, I'll say goes into budgeted reserved. Is everybody good with that? Just so when I update the PowerPoint,
I think it's a good point to make. I think the language as of now is a little confusing.
Yeah, it is.
Right, so it's whatever is left from the 65% after paying bonds.
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay, so.
I knew you
so
would be able to.
What do you
it.
want it to say? 65% wait a minute, remainder of 65% used to pay bonds and fund projects, and then say what, Ellen?
Or so
Start with
remainder
after.
65% after.
Wait a minute,
I
sorry,
just typed it here.
65% after, go ahead.
No, my screen share, I'll type it. Whatever.
Okay.
All right, that's easier.
Remainder of 65% after what is used to pay bonds and fund projects.
And can I suggest making those bullets, or sub bullets?
You can suggest that.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, you just gave me a flashback to like elementary school where it's like,
Yeah.
can I go to the bathroom? And the teacher's like, can you or may you?
Although I'm actually not able to do it for whatever reason, so I guess
PowerPoints. If you like,
I'm doing a
if you
tab.
highlight a few paragraph.
So do you want all of them throughout, Kristen, to be bullet points?
No,
I mean,
no, no, no,
it's-
just, we're talking about the budgeted reserve. I think those other 2 points are sub bullets.
Sub bullets, like where you get
Got
the
it,
little
no, I got it,
different
I got
shape.
it, I got it.
sorry, somewhere
But PowerPoint does not make that easy, but I'm happy to help if anyone.
Typically, you can do a tab and that goes in, but I can't get it right now.
Yeah, it's
That's-
probably some formatting in the template,
Yeah. Anyway,
All right.
but you know what I'm
just-
saying.
yeah, I know what you're saying.
Just,
By the way-
Grant, just type in make sub bullet and I'll figure it
Okay.
out.
And will I send this to you?
Yeah,
Okay.
or just, it'll go back, you saving it into the Dropbox?
I am not currently, but I can.
Okay, perfect, okay,
I'll leave
all
that.
right, so.
And then the only thing I have is, and I can't remember if these are the same thing, but I just want to note that in the note, funded by undesignated reserve or general unreserved CPA fund balance, and we call it the budgeted reserve. Are those two separate things? Or should we use consistent language there?
No, use consistent language. We used to call it undesignated.
So that's budgeted.
Yeah,
Okay,
you don't have that, what Ellen said. Is that what you said, Ellen?
whereas used to pay bonds and fund projects.
Is what you said.
Yeah. But we can continue refining it.
I think it's perfect.
So, because we need to get it together tonight, because our next meeting is going to be
Before.
before.
It just remainder of 65%.
Remainder.
Could it be the remaining 65% is put into the budgeted reserve after paying the bond obligations and it?
Or remaining.
Because it's not remainder really after, I don't know.
It's really after paying bonds and funding projects, remaining funds go into the budget
Maybe
reserve.
it's
Yeah.
its own bullet, like residual funds.
I don't even know if you need to put the 65%.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But just
Remainder
after,
of funds.
After
that's a
you,
good point.
after what is used to pay bonds and prom.
we
Yeah,
used
that's
to put
fine.
the whole 65% in and then we paid out of it, but now we just don't do that.
Okay, that's good,
So just after?
yeah.
Okay.
And then I don't know that we need a sub bullet then either.
Beautiful. Because we can't do it anyway.
Okay, so that makes it easier for me. Okay, I couldn't figure out how to trust. I can't speak. Okay. Anyway, okay, so that's good. Next one, again, these were just updated numbers that Freddie gave.
These are from the trial.
And it'll say 26 also.
And the historic is not zero because we added in the additional funds after.
So
in that
last
separate warrant
year-
article, so kind of return the funds to the bucket.
Last year, the 2,484 was from an adjustment.
Yeah.
We didn't use that because the only historic projects were bonds, and it just seems silly to have it broken out into
Okay.
two different accounts. And then this year we had an additional adjustment, so now there's 4,294.
Thanks.
And it's okay if that adds up into you. Till we don't have an adjustment.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so it's gonna be July 1st, 2026. I'll make that change.
And then the bottom line is the one I changed.
Thanks, Grant. Instead of saying waiting for, Freddie wants it to say requires year-end certification.
Because waiting sounds like we're waiting for them to do their job or something, and that's not the case at all, you know?
Come on, DLS, get on it.
I know.
Yeah, like, you hurry up, so.
Okay, so I'll update that slide, then that one's good. And next is Freddie just updated the numbers on these. Go ahead, Freddie, if there's anything. Oh, it's November 2026. Oh, I put it in parentheses. Never mind. And changing the 18 to 16.87. Can I add anything on that?
No.
It's pretty straightforward. And then I only made one other change. Then it was, I think we just stick with, if you go to the next slide, the examples again, we just kind of touch on these. It's just great to have in there.
I had a suggestion.
What?
Is the townhouse mentioned?
Go to the next screen, maybe. There's 2 screens. Townhouse is on there.
But do we have a picture?
Well, you got to go back. The pictures are after this, right?
Right,
At the end.
that's why I was thinking, so.
Well, do we want to, are you saying?
Sorry.
Prioritize townhouse on the first slide, put it first. Just to make
It
it,
doesn't need to be. I guess I thought it was missing because maybe it's missing in the
Actually-
pictures.
But I'm going to piggyback on what Grant just said. And I can help with this too. I don't mean to create more work, but I do think putting them in a historical order makes sense because people are going to be most familiar with most recent projects.
But okay.
either that or by type, recreation
Right.
projects, open space projects.
Although then the only risk there is then people will stop being like, why did we fund so much here and not so much that?
Yeah, that's true.
And that's a fair discussion, but is that the one we want to get into here where they start comparing?
And that gets complicated because of dollar amount.
And we only just touched on this slide. We didn't spend a ton of time going over this either. I think we just touched
Right.
on, I touched on, and even when Ben did it, we touched on a couple from one slide and a couple from another slide. We didn't spend a lot of time on these,
Fair point.
so.
There's Was there a golf course irrigation project that was completed? It's not ringing a bell. So.
I mean, you have the history on it, but the one that we funded in 2024 went
Still
over
hasn't
budget
been
and
done.
is coming back, so they didn't actually.
So
do
why don't we
the work.
just take that off then?
Because it says completed. I mean, we might have,
Not that I know of, because
there was a I don't know if it says golf course there, but we did do the golf course realignment of the holes was. So you could just say golf course improvements.
Just leave golf course improvements. I think
Take
that
out
covers the
irrigation.
the parking lot and everything else.
We didn't
Just
do
take out the irrigation
did the
grant.
same with Peninsula Trail, right?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry?
complete. Peninsula Trail also isn't complete.
So no, don't take it all out. Just take out irrigation.
No, but they're saying the Peninsula Trail.
Yeah, I'm just saying for the golf course, just take out irrigation.
Just take out the word irrigation,
Oh, just improvements.
improvements.
And the Peninsula Trail,
Just take it out. It's fine.
I mean,
Okay.
somebody can go on the coalition's website to find another project if we want to have it fully,
And this wasn't all the projects.
Yeah.
This was just some of the projects that we went through that we thought people would remember. when we
Yeah.
Put the list together. So, okay. The
I think we
next.
should put Gonclex front and center. We funded that.
And this was just the application. So I already obtained 2026 application. That was the only thing I saw with dates in that. Application deadline. Did we still leave it we left it at September 15th? Correct? That didn't change. In the handbook, I believe it's the 15th. So, okay, so that's fine.
I guess that's a question I have, well, outside of this, but are we, I don't know if it needs updates, but I think we were trying to update the application, or at least revisit the application, the handbook regularly. Or are we gonna do that or just?
We can,
Yeah.
you know, but I mean, we've kind of, last year we ripped it apart and
Yeah.
kind of put it all back
No,
together.
I mean, I think, I don't have.
So, no, I'm not saying we certainly can, but it can't be, I mean, the applications,
Is this the new applicant, like new version, new year application or? does that
typically we
update
put
it?
the new version out with, I mean, we can have another meeting before if we want to do that.
I feel like we addressed most of it. I just thought I should mention it.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, again, if we want to go through it again, we can, but last year we
I
went
think
through
an
it.
interesting angle might be, and we don't have to make it too formal, is all of us, now that we've been through this last annual town meeting, just to reflect on how it went. And did our changes work? Or is there anything we would tweak and do differently? And it's hard to do that because it was kind of a weird cycle, right? That we ended up pushing everything, but I can see, okay, we made a bunch of changes last year. You know, do we think they worked or do we think we needed to tweak anything more? And I'm not prepared to answer that question now. I'm suggesting maybe we just all think of it and then take a quick look. I like the idea of a quick annual review in light of what we just went through. Is there anything else we would have tweaked? And I think a lot of that is to Freddie because, you know, she does a lot of that heavy lifting. Did we give enough time for things to be completed?
So then we're gonna have to schedule another meeting because when we do the form is typically when we release the application.
Yeah, okay.
And the handbook,
And I don't want to like, I
It's-
don't feel an urgency for it. I just think it is good practice.
May I
So-
make a suggestion? You do have this grant application coming, an added one for the fall that's a heavy lift. So starting to look at the application again, those are piggybacked right, you've got the fall town meeting and then next year's annual meeting. Like, do you want to schedule another meeting to go over the application? Could you do it like after all of that?
Well, I would just say, does anyone see any major glaring, from my perspective, do we feel like anything went wrong with the changes that we made last year? Would we have changed anything? Again, it's kind of a weird year, right, to assess it, given the projects that came
No.
forward.
I kind of would want to go through a heavy lifting cycle because I didn't really get a good idea of how it went because it was kind of so straightforward and we had like just the one
Yeah,
article.
right.
So I think at least going through special town meeting will give me a better idea of how the new changes were. I don't know if other people agree, but I just thought it was pretty simple and I don't know if that's always how it goes, but.
So maybe a fall, wait till after town meeting to go through it, fall town meeting, or again, it's up to you guys, whatever you want to do.
No,
I
that makes
just-
sense. I think it's good to keep on our radar that, as we're going through another cycle, keep in mind things that
Yeah.
we might want to tweak going forward.
And we
Yeah.
typically probably would have done it at this meeting, but
Yeah.
because we carried through the applications.
Yeah.
Because I went back to last year to see, prior to the forum, how we did it. And yeah, because I was in North Carolina last year when we did it, when we ripped it all apart. So,
The only, I have to take a closer look at it. One of the things that comes to mind is this project manager thing, because I feel like we never get the answer that we want in terms of who's the project manager going to be. And it's like, well, we will be.
No,
project
I
manager.
think that's
And
an
it's like,
excellent
oh,
point.
maybe we should clarify that it has to be like a professional
Yeah.
member of staff or, something like that.
And I'd also say I'm fine with all of us taking some time between now and the forum to look at it. And I don't think anyone's opening up the application right after the forum and getting started on it. So I think, we're not going to do another full overhaul, but if there are questions that we want to tweak and make a little more clear what we're asking for in the project manager, if we talk about that after the forum and then just say
At
that meeting,
I think
right?
that's what we did last
because we
year.
always have a bit of a meeting after the forum.
Yeah.
We did that with the
make the
handbook
changes
last
then.
we
year.
did that with the handbook.
Yeah.
Right, and then say, the current version of our application is up now. We anticipate making some minor changes.
I think
tonight,
we
and
actually, at the last meeting,
Oh,
we
that's what we
said
did,
within like 3 days or a week, we would have the new application with the handbook up. We
Yeah.
did say
And
that.
we did.
We did.
Yeah, and then we can just email out to people who.
All right, so maybe
were showed.
between now and then, now and the next meeting, we'll put it on the agenda, you know, to do it just a minor.
Yeah.
Minor review, and then in the fall, again, as we go through the whole cycle, do, you know, a bigger overhaul if everyone is interested. Okay, that's fine. And.
Thank you for remembering that. I was like, did we do that? Yeah. Well, it was at the
Okay.
fall meeting.
Okay, so, anything anybody wants to see changed on this? This is like all standard, it's been
Is it the 2026 application or 2027?
2020, last year we put the 2020.
Do it by
Well,
town meeting year? I can't remember.
No, last year's, I believe last year
It's
said,
the 2026 application because you're in 2026 for annual town meeting in 27 for fiscal year 28. Now.
it's actually, last year said
I think
25.
on the website, if I recall correctly, it said like the annual town meeting application year.
I
I could be
think
wrong, so.
Katie added it to the website, and I think I'm pretty sure it says 2025
Okay, that's good.
application, 2025 handbook. And I went back and looked at it today. Thank you for adding that, Katie, by the way. I'll hear it.
Minutia of.
Okay, so we're not changing at this point tonight. If we go to the next page, the application, that is the application. So those are standard, that's standard, that's standard, that's standard, that's standard.
Okay, what are the circles for? Just real quick on,
These were things, again, this was from before I was on. This was carried over from when Ben was here and it was discussed. These were just some specific, they highlighted some of the questions on here.
Do we want to, I don't want to create more work for us, but this is now an old application because these are the images from before. Do we want the new? It doesn't matter.
Is the info still the same?
Well, we changed the questions, right? Like the question numbers are different. We deleted some, moved them around. I don't want to create more work for us. I really don't.
no, but I agree.
This is not the current application questions. That's the only thing. Right?
You could just put example on there.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
I'll just say their
I
example.
wonder how closely people are gonna look at
Yes.
this.
I think we just breezed.
And again, they're gonna have the availability
You
of
know
the
where we live,
application.
someone's gonna pick it apart.
You know, I mean, if somebody wants to take, again, we're down to the wire.
I know.
If somebody wants to take the time to do it, I'll be honest, I don't have time.
Yeah.
to.
It's all good.
And the circles were meant mostly to give like the presenters some talking points, which parts they're
Yeah,
mentioning.
and then these were just some pictures and we skimmed through these pretty quick.
Yeah.
But they were just there so people could see if anybody wanted to go on the website and see the presentation.
They look great.
And then
Oh, sorry. Questions?
their ideas, visit the website.
That's it.
Can we go, okay, sorry, this is so anal, but on 36, can we just put questions?
Sure.
Thanks.
It's reasonable.
A solid edit right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So overall, I'll make the changes and that's kind of what we use. So that brings us to the date. Last year we did it on the 18th. So if we do it on a Thursday, and I did look the townhouse, we could do it here again. Well, here, I think this is so much better than the public safety building. I may not think so after we see the video today, but, you know, this one might be too up close and personal, but, I looked, the dates are open for the 11th and the 18th, which are Thursdays. So we tend to like to meet on Thursdays. So if either of those dates,
I think the 18th, we start losing people.
that's the last day of school, isn't it? No, that last day of school is like the 25th.
There's just so much going on at that point. If
So
we could get it
yeah, I
in
have an
earlier, I
event
think we should.
On the 19th the golf tournament that I run, so I
Oh,
am
that's right.
out on the 18th.
The 11th works for me.
So let's do the 11th then.
That's okay, but
Okay,
Yeah.
nope, that's fine. The 11th at 7 PM, we'll do it here. If you could book that, Freddie, as soon as possible. And I will update the PowerPoint. We'll get that on the website. If I shoot it to you, can you put it on the website just so it's there in case.
Save I didn't do all the edits, but.
That's fine. If you
some
save
of
what you
the-
did
Yeah.
and just shoot it to me, then I'll just update the rest. I have them here. So, okay. So the 11th at 7 PM. I'm trying to think what else. We'll plan that the next meeting to, we'll have Bill Cundiff and Golf come in, and Kevin may or may not come in and kind of give us an update as to, I think he was going to ask to be on the select board's agenda for their next meeting. Just again, so he has a kind of a path, because so many people have given him input now onto what they'd like to see done there, because again, he came up with some pretty ingenious ideas, and obviously people want to run with that. So, and then there's the new cemetery committee was built. So again, he's trying to be respectful of everybody, which I greatly appreciate. So, I think that's it. So we have the next meeting on 6/11, and, we took care of that. I think we're done. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Roll call. Kristen?
Yes.
Lisa, yes. Katie? Just get
Yes.
on the line.
Yes.
Brett, yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good one.
See you, everyone.
Happy Memorial Day weekend
Oh, that's right.
and Memorial Day.
Mhm.